We're here to take a look at Cervelo's all-new Aspero. Now this is Cervelo's take on a gravel bike, and Cervelo being a brand absolutely known for racing, it's pretty much no surprise what they've created here is a full-on race gravel machine. So this is the base model of the range, the entry-level model. SRAM Apex 1 retails at £2,699 or $2,800, but you are getting exactly the same 1100 gram frame as you get on the top-end bike. So when Cervelo came to develop this bike, they tell us that everything about this bike was going to always be about handling. So with that in mind, the geometry is loosely based on their R series bikes, and in particular the R3, which uses their pro geometry rather than their full-on team level geometry, which you'll find on the S5. So it's a little bit taller than a full-on racing bike, but it's still pretty aggressive, and for a gravel bike it's very, very aggressive. The ride position that they've adopted takes in a little bit of kind of the long front centre kind of geo that we've seen on bikes like from White and a little bit from Mason. So therefore you get a longer top tube combined with a shorter stem, something that came from mountain biking, and it imbues the Aspero with a really, really nice swift handling. And like a lot of gravel bikes, this one's designed around dual wheel sizes. So in this current guise, off the shelf, it comes 700C, but it can take a 650. So unlike most of their rivals, when they go for that dual wheel size option, you end up having a super drop chainstay just so that you get the proper chain line when you drop down to a smaller wheel size with a bigger tyre clearance. What Cervelo have in fact done is drop both chainstays equally, so you end up with a much more symmetrical look. It looks a lot more elegant, and it's in keeping with the rest of the Cervelo range. And the other thing that they've done, just so that they keep this very, very balanced, quick handling that they want in the 700C guys, is they've introduced a twin tip onto the fork. Now, twin tips on forks are something we've seen before with the likes of Rondo, last year's Bike of the Year, the HVRT, which when you flip the fork on that, it switches between a racy position or a more endurance position, but that's because they're orientating that change in the axle upwards rather than fore and aft. What Cervelo have done with the insert in their fork is it alters the offset by 5mm either way. And now that's to counter the effect of moving to a smaller wheel size with a fatter tyre. So therefore the handling between the two wheel sizes should feel pretty much the same. Also on the chassis, Cervelo have been pretty generous with tyre clearances. So in 700C guys, you've got clearance for a 42mm tyre, drop down to a 650, and it's up to a fairly big 49. That means you've got plenty of options, plenty of versatility on this bike. What you'll also notice about this frame set is there aren't a great deal of fixtures and fittings. This isn't a bike for bike packing. We asked Cervelo about it and they said, well, we make bikes to race, not to carry luggage. So that's their take. You do get 2 bottle cages, and under the down tube protection, and on the top there's space for a bento box as well. So you've got the bare minimum, you've probably got enough to just get you through a seriously quick long distance gravel race, but a one-day event rather than a multi-day event. Now the other thing of note on the Aspero frame set is just how different they are between the sizes. That's because the whole project was based around how the bike handles. So when you move down to the smaller sizes, the seat angle actually changes quite significantly, just so they can keep this long front centre type design. The other thing they do is they actually alter the fork between sizes as well. And that's because when you get down to the smaller sizes like a 48 and even smaller, what they don't want you to get is any sort of toe overlap, because riding a gravel bike on occasion you are going to be riding slowly trying to navigate between things, and the last thing you want to do is catch that front tyre on your foot. A lot of the latest generation gravel bikes have introduced some sort of form of suspension, be it in any kind of tube compliance or actual physical systems. But what Cervelo have done is use their existing tube library. Their tube library is a bunch of designs of thousands of different tube shapes, all with their own particular strengths, you know, whether it be stiffness or compliance or torsional rigidity, etc. And they've built from all of those different tube shapes this bike. So they tell us that bottom bracket stiffness and head tube stiffness on this bike is either the equal or better than the R3 or the R5, but where it's not needed to be quite so stiff, they've introduced a lot of compliance. That's through the back end, through the seat stays, into the top tube, and allowing that seat tube to give it a bit of movement as well. All with the idea that it will take the edge off harder knocks when you're riding on rough surfaces. So now we'll take a look at the spec on, as we said, the Apex 1 entry-level model. When you're looking at all the hardware that's fitting there, it's all from Eastern. So you've got an EA50 AX, that's their gravel-specific aluminium bar, EA50 seat post, an EA70 stem. All really nice, good quality kit. It's kind of lower end stuff from Eastern, but anything from Eastern is really nice quality anyway. Moving down into the wheels, we've got decent quality seal bearing Formula hubs built onto Alex Boondock 7D rims. I've had a bit of time riding these. They've proven pretty strong. They've stayed true. They are tubeless ready, although the bike's not set up tubeless, and it will make the most of the really, really good tyres. We've got Donnelly Explore M50s on this bike. Really good quality tyre, been around for a few years. Change of name, it used to be the Challenge Explore. Now Donnelly is the new name for Challenge. And then a new thing for Cervélo, they've actually introduced their own saddle on this bike. Now this follows the latest trend for being a little short saddle. It's really nicely shaped, it's got quite a curvy, rounded shape, lots and lots of deep padding onto it. Really, really makes the difference when you're riding on rough roads and things. It's a really comfortable place to be. So the EA50 AX bar I really like. It's a really nice wide bar, it's got a good flare to it and everything. The one thing I don't like, and on the spec of this bike, is the bar tape. It's just too thin and it's stretched too narrow as well. And so you really, really does get a lot of transference of bumps and ruts and vibrations coming straight through to your hands. I wish they just spec'd a big thick tape on there, because it's exactly what you need when you're riding on rough surfaces. And then there's probably the most important bit of the equipment on the bike, and that's SRAM's Apex 1x. Now, Apex, yeah, it's the lowest level that SRAM offer in their mechanical groups, but it's good, solid performing stuff. It's got really nice slick shifts, it's got really good chain retention, thanks to the narrow wide chain ring and the clutch on the rear mech, and then you've got full hydraulic brakes. Again, really, really good quality and really nice feel at the lever. So of course, while you are getting a lower spec group set and sort of mid-range parts to finish this bike off, you just have to remember that you are getting an absolute premium frame set. This is one of the best of its type on the market right now. So this makes this bike a really, really good buy, a great thing to upgrade, or a great thing just to ride as it is. I do like this bike a lot, but it is very, very much a race bike. You know, this on the road with slick tyres on it feels just like an R3. So it's super stiff, it's super rigid, and it's super aggressive ride position, and the handling is very, very quick. But if you're the sort of rider that you're actually taking like patches of single track, more technical things, then this bike probably isn't for you. This is the sort of bike that you could go out and compete in, you know, big races like Dirty Kansas and things like that. But if you want to go jumping around in the woods and having a bit more experience, there are better options out there. I kind of admire that Cervélo have made something quite so pure, and to have that kind of single vision, I actually really admire it. But it's not a bike for everybody. So this is the entry-level model, but I spent a lot of time riding the top-end bike on the official Aspero launch up in Scotland. That bike's the force-axis ETAP model, and that retails at about £5,400. Really, really high-spec bike, beautiful ride, super light, but this frame set here is exactly the same. You're just dealing with a lower kit and less than half the price. So overall then, this new Aspero, in this spec, it's infinitely upgradable, but it's a really nice, good value package as is. We would like them to address the bar tape, and just remember that this is a Cervélo. This is a race bike. So if that's what you're after, you'll love it. If you want something that's got a little bit more comfort, a little bit more versatility when it comes to getting really, really off-road, maybe this isn't for you. So what is it that you're looking for from a gravel bike? Is it something like the Aspero? This is a purebred race machine, something built to go fast, all about performance? Or do you want something a bit more versatile? Do you want something with a bit of suspension? Do you want something that you can go bike packing for a month on? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like and subscribe.